Hello, my Buffalo Nation. How is everyone doing today? All right, we are back with another video. This one, completely different. Not a Mr. Ballin video. And for those of you who adore Mr. Ballin, as I do, I am sorry. But I got to branch out a little bit. So, took some of your all's suggestions, and I'm going with that chapter. Yeah. All right, so this one is titled The Harrowing A.J. Hadsell Case. All right. So, let's go ahead and get into it. Go ahead and turn your lights down low, put on something comfy, cuddle up with someone special. Let's get spooky.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this whole video, we are, we're getting our boots on and going to Norfolk, Virginia, home of the Hadsells. It sits on the Bay Chesapeake, and we're going to peek into a weird old tale of stepfathers, disappearances, unknowns, and, I didn't do it. There are some people who deserve a little more than a one-way ticket straight down to the yacht place, H-double hockey sticks. We've met a few. Now let's meet one more. Or, give it a cue.
I like him so far. I like him. Okay, I've never watched that chapter before, just in case you wondering. It's the first time ever watching, first time ever watching this video. It's a whole slew of firsts for me. It's the first video that I'm doing for Wednesday that's meant to be on Wednesday. Yeah. So I am really excited. All right, sorry.
So, folks, we're going to Norfolk, Virginia. Home of, let's see here. We got about 240,000 people. Nice. Home of the world's biggest naval base. Kind of get it, toot. And of course, the city is also home to lots and lots of buildings. And parks. Things that make you say, yep, it's a city, all right. It's a friendly city, an artist city, a party city. Education, you can give it a go with 4 universities in town. One of those shit up? Well, the number 1 employer in the city is the Department of Defense. So it's like, got it all. No, all doesn't always mean just good stuff. But it did have Angelica A.J. Hadsell, who was good. A.J. Hadsell was born in August 1996 from Chesapeake, which is all part of the Norfolk, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach area. She was born to Jennifer. Her biological father, Mel, lived in Florida, and you'd never really be a huge part of her life. Mel and Jennifer's relationship unraveled soon after her birth, and so A.J.'s mother would meet a man named Zach, who helped raise A.J. He would be a strong father figure for A.J. growing up, and they became very close, but unfortunately, that didn't work out, so she eventually met Wesley Hadsell, A.J.'s adoptive father, as of 2012. And so A.J. grew up with parents Jennifer, Wesley, and her 3 sisters, Justice Gracie Abby, and 1 brother, Timothy. A.J. had a very bright personality. She loved sports. She played softball, field hockey, soccer. She had a video splish splash. And she would go on to attend Longwood University, whose patron hero is Joan of Arc, located about a 3-hour drive west of Norfolk. There, A.J. was double majoring in IT and computer programming, and was seemingly popular enough. In 2015, she was in her first year in university, her freshman year. And so, as spring break arrived in spring of all seasons, she decided to pop back home to see the fam over her week off. She wouldn't be making it back, though, to university. On Friday, the 27th of February, she arrived back in Norfolk, back to the family home after finishing classes for the day. Over that weekend, she hung out with her sisters, went shopping, enjoyed her time back home. She would be due to remain there for the week, but then Monday happened. That day, 18-year-old A.J. was last seen by her stepfather, adoptive father now, I guess, Wesley. She was last seen by others, though, in the family home in the Tarleton area of Norfolk. And then she simply left. She was at home, her parents were coming and going. She was there 1 minute, the next, she wasn't. It was the next day, Tuesday, the 3rd of March, she was reported missing at 9:15 p.m. after, no one was able to get through to her. AJ's jacket, truck, wallet were still in the house, but some clothes were missing. And a note was on the table, supposedly written by AJ herself. It read, "With everything going on, it's a lot to deal with." Jennifer would say that note didn't make sense to her. Kind of written in like a very depressed, almost like suicidal kind of way. Like AJ's sister would be like, "That doesn't sound AJ at all." AJ wasn't depressed at all. She had recently just broken up with a boyfriend, but she was enjoying college. She was finding college quite stressful. She was getting a lot of migraines. But other than that, she was grand.
It was like a horrible nightmare that I feel like I should be waking up from it any minute.
It's been 4 long days for Jennifer Hadsell.
I do believe that she is safe.
18-year-old AJ was home on spring break from Longwood University in Farmville. And while she told family she was stressed out, Mom says this behavior is far from normal.
She's a freshman at college. She moved away from home. Just your normal everyday life stresses.
Jennifer heard from AJ by text message for the last time Tuesday morning. She wrote that she was okay, but not ready to return home. But the question remains, was it AJ or someone else on the other end of the phone?
Some of the things that were said were just, they were not her. They were off.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going. I'm going to go ahead. When it comes to a lot of stuff from the news, and I'm quite ignorant about it. I do not watch the news. I do not keep up with the news in any way, shape, or form. It's not that I don't care. It's just that it's really depressing. Sorry. So I don't know a lot of things like this.
Right back home to the AJ left house. It seemed like she had just been there as well. There was music playing, on the speakers. Her laundry was like half folded, as if she was doing it herself and then had to rush. And the last time AJ was seen herself was kind of like up in the air by different people. Like her mother seen her on that 2nd of March, Monday, at about like 7:30 a.m. as Jennifer. She was out to work. She seen AJ that morning. Then later on in the day, Wesley said he met her at a gas station. Yeah, give her a few bob for a college student and all that. And then a neighbor would say later on that evening, they seen her driving down the road. The search for missing AJ was on, with, at the time, no indication of foul play, but they needed to know she was okay. The leads were few and far between to begin, and they had sweet fuck all to go on. A few days into the search, a neighbor was interrogated by police for 12 hours after he found a piece of her credit card in the street beside his home. He had dated AJ in middle school and lived just around the corner, but the police are taking this very seriously. Now, this neighbor who found a piece of her credit card outside his house, and like I said, he had dated AJ in middle school and they remained friends. His name was Corey French, and he would later go off and join the army, like he was joining it just a couple of days later. But after the investigation into missing AJ began, he had a terrible time, poor fella. One time he opened his front door to find a box. Written inside the box was, "We know," like the Dark Brotherhood were after him. And another incident was when Wesley Hadsell, the distraught father, was trying to find his daughter. He broke in to Corey's house, having a hunch Corey had something to do with whatever happened to AJ. For some reason, I guess because he found the credit card, must have had something to do with it. Wesley became convinced, absolutely convinced, that Corey was behind whatever happened to AJ. And so when Corey was out one day, he broke into his house. He punched his dog, a St. Bernard, son of a bitch, but his break-in wasn't for naught. Wesley found AJ's jacket in Corey's house, if you can believe it. It's hard. Wesley then said to one of AJ's friends, who was helping the search,
He punched the dog. Oh God. I like this dude. It's funny. It's funny.
Corey's house. By the way, he also would go around saying he had lots of guns. And was a member of the Aryan Brotherhood. Okay, he was trying to intimidate AJ's friends who were helping the search. To the point where they were the ones who actually pointed out, yeah, AJ's jacket is in the house and the police went in and found it. But how did it get there? Because Corey would take a lie detector test. He would willingly give all his DNA, and he had a rock-solid alibi for the day AJ disappeared. And he was like, whoa, what's your jacket doing in my house? Yeah, it's as weird as it sounds. And there's something about Wesley, besides him being a sack of shit who would punch a dog. Police actually started looking into Wesley pretty quickly as the investigation began. Maybe him possibly having something to do with whatever happened. See, the jacket did not help the investigation at all. It gave the police nothing. But it did make them focus on Wesley more. And the police pretty swiftly figured out that, well, the most logical thing is that Wesley actually broke into his house and planted the jacket there. So Wesley actually got in shit for interfering with the investigation. Now, Wesley also had quite a lengthy criminal history going back to 1996. I'll zip through it a little bit because, as I said, in 96, 2 counts of burglary, 1 grand larceny in Williamsburg, Virginia, dismissed. 4 days later, 1 count of burglary for which he did a year inside. He never did more than 4 years inside, actually. For what else did he do? We got burglaries, forgery, assault, domestic violence, rape, kidnapping, and bank robbery. What an upstanding citizen. And just a few before the disappearance
Oh my God.
of AJ in February 2015, Wesley had actually been kicked out of the house by Jennifer because he was on the drugs. He was acting erratically and doing a lot of, the El Schnock, the Devil's Dandruff. Jennifer tried to help him. She tried holding interventions for Wesley, but it didn't seem to work. And so he was out 85,000 and he moved into a motel near the family home. And so Wesley seemed determined to blame Corey for AJ's disappearance. This, ended up backfiring and casting more suspicion on himself.
4 weeks and still no trace of missing teenager Angelica Hadsell.
But friends and family are not giving up hope, and tonight another show of support and prayers that she will be found.
And then we were talking on our 5 o'clock news earlier from an interview we did previously about how you guys are still strongly under the impression that AJ is out there, that she's alive. Are you still under that impression?
Yes, definitely.
And then what do you want people to know about Angelica that are at home right now that, a month later?
Just, there's a lot of support out here for her, and I hope we continue to see more support as, the days go, however long that may be, hopefully not too much longer. She's a great kid.
Okay, thanks so much. And this is Andre.
Now, so Wesley was probably the last person, definite confirmed person to have seen AJ on March the 2nd, right? There was a neighbor who said they thought they saw her that evening, but so he was in work that day. He worked for a plumbing company, and he said he had to run out before midday. He had to go meet AJ at a gas station and give her like $200, just she's a bit light in the wallet. So that's what he said. He went off into that, and then he came back at about 2 p.m. back into work. And when he did, his coworkers said he was agitated. So police later searched the 38-year-old Wesley's motel room. There, they found bullets, and that was a big no-no with his criminal history. He was charged with possession of ammunition as a felon. By the way, his eyelid tattoos say game over. Boy howdy, he nailed that one.
You're told these charges are not connected to Angelica's disappearance.
Yeah, Deanna Wesley Hadsell was arrested on charges of obstructing justice, possessing ammunition after a felony, and breaking and entering. He doesn't deny any of those charges, but one thing he does deny from jail is that he knows anything about where Angelica could be tonight.
I'd do anything for my daughter, my wife, my kids.
This is just pure craziness. So, what?
They make it sound like I'd do anything to
keep myself out of trouble.
Hadsell believes his daughter was taken, which is why he says he broke into the home of the person he believes took his daughter against her will March 2nd.
I couldn't sit a minute away from where my daughter may have been.
Hadsell admits to breaking in and spending roughly 18 minutes inside the home, tearing through trash cans, peeling back carpet, even punching the family's dog out of anger. A search of the couch uncovered Angelica's jacket, he says.
Found my daughter's jacket in the couch, rolled up behind the cushion.
That's my daughter, Angelica Hadsell. She's been missing since March 2nd. Here it is, I do believe it's March 25th. It's 23 days. No contact, no.
That's
Communication, no social media, no anything. She's still out there missing, and in light of recent events, with my name in the media, with what's going on here, I would implore people to put her back at the front lines of this. It does not matter what I have or have not done.
Then they searched his work van. Inside, they discovered a shovel, duct tape, and black work gloves. They continued looking into his van, however, and got an analysis report of where it had been and when it had been there. In April 2015, about a month after the disappearance, the GPS analysis came back. And the day after AJ was last seen, on March 3rd, it had been to an abandoned house near the North Carolina border, about an hour's drive away. Police visited that location and, snooping around, eventually they discovered, buried in a ditch, Angelica Hadsell. Her cause of death was first listed as homicidal violence. She did have bruises, multiple bruises on her face. It wasn't determinable if she had been sexually assaulted, but her pants were down. Later, though, it would appear her cause of death was heroin poisoning. She had 3 times the lethal dose in her system. So at the time her body was discovered, Wesley was in jail for, those weapons charges. And when he was asked, hey, your work van was right, beside where her body was found. How do you explain that? He was just like, well, I did have to get there for a job. Squinky-dink.
Coincidence. I don't know how she ended up at that house. Coincidences. I don't know what the coincidences mean.
Also, his story of meeting AJ at the
It's all just coincidences. I gotta chop him in the throat.
gas station to give her some money, well, CCTV showed no sign of them where he said they were, but no arrests were made. Wesley was already sitting in jail for the weapons possession charges. In fact, he would, much later, get 10 years for that. In jail, he would say he's being set up. Set up? Go on.
It leaves a lot of room for question. I think it looks like a coincidence as well as the other coincidences, but how many coincidences can one family deal with before it breaks?
So he would say the GPS locator in his work van, that led them to Angelica's body, he would say that's removable. It's detachable. So somebody else, could have driven to Angelica's where her body was left, and then taken it out, put it back in his van to make it look like his van had been the one to drive there. But he said that's not the case at all. You're mistaken.
So if they were to track your GPS, would they find that you were near that home?
They track. I gave them my phone voluntarily too, so I don't know where that home was in relation to where I worked at.
So you were in the same county where her body was found the day after she did.
Correct.
What do you think that?
Coincidence?
The CCTV would also show he had Been in that area because he was seen at like an ATM security. So,
And I'm not going to sit here and have my daughter's name drugged through the mud any kind of way. She did not use drugs. She was murdered. As sure as I sit here today, I am convicted in my heart that my daughter was murdered. She didn't do this to herself. And no one's ever going to make me believe that. And I will defend her till my last breath. Because as I said before, I'm her voice. I am convicted.
It's interesting he's saying that, though, because no one ever said otherwise. So I don't know where he's getting this from. People were pretty sure she was murdered. But, of course, Wes, when I find the bastard, he actually continually does that throughout the interview.
I have nothing to hide as far as I didn't hurt my daughter. I didn't help her get away from the house or help her get to Southampton. I have no knowledge of it.
Where is he getting the idea that he was helping her? Nobody said that.
I swear to you that I didn't hurt my daughter. I don't know who did. And if I did, I wouldn't judge her.
Well, that explains it then. Let him out. In November 2018, 3.5 years after AJ's death, Wesley would be charged with her murder.
Good.
In 2020, Weasel went on trial. Though on the second day, a mistrial was declared. The prosecution and the defense couldn't agree on what parts of Wesley's criminal history the jury should hear and see. His second trial would begin in January 2022. The prosecution said that while AJ was home on the morning of the 2nd of March, listening to music, folding laundry, he came into the house and abducted her. His motive? Well, he was being kicked out of the house, he was back on drugs, and soon he'd be removed from the family entirely. See, AJ herself had learned of his drug use and was uneasy around him. He wanted something from the family, and so he took AJ and sexually assaulted her. He kept her for at least a day, and then he would hold her down and inject her with a lethal amount of heroin. Wesley's drug dealer would take the stand also. This was in return for immunity from drugs charges he was facing. And he would say, yeah, he sold Wesley coke and heroin on the 3rd of March, the day after AJ went missing. Of course, then he dumped her body and tried to make it look like Corey French had done it by breaking in and planting AJ's jacket on the couch. Super freaking plan. The defense said that no, AJ was depressed. She had recently broken up with her boyfriend, and so she overdosed herself. But wait, didn't he say earlier?
She didn't do this to herself. And no one's ever going to make me believe that. And I will defend her till my last breath.
What a murder charge will do to a motherfucker. AJ had no history of drugs and was very happy. And tests of her hair could confirm she had never been using drugs before. As you can see, this was a very poor defense, and it took the jury less than 1 hour to find him guilty.
Good. Motherfucker belonging under the jail.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, in the gallery, we have no, I understand this is a difficult case for lots of folks here. We have no outbursts, we have no demonstrations for me.
Would you please stay? On the charge of first-degree murder, we, the jury, find the defendant, Wesley Paul Hadsell, guilty of indictment. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is this your verdict? And so say you all.
On the 4th of April, 2022, he was sentenced to life in prison.
Like I said, some bitch blown under the jail.
We will never know the true circumstances or motives of what really happened between Wesley and AJ, but it was horrific. And Wesley, of course, says he's disgusted by this. He was pleading not guilty. He says he's going to appeal. And it's just a conspiracy to get the reptoids out of the game. But, he had a criminal history of, similar, not murder, but, almost. And history is instructive. Time is a flat circle, and all those kind of things. But Wesley says,
I do know that I am innocent and that I will work very hard to prove that.
Wesley Hadsell sits in a yellow jumpsuit at the Tidewater Regional Jail, staring down the very real possibility this is how he'll spend the rest of his days.
Did you kill AJ?
No, ma'am.
The jury says he did.
What went through your mind? What did that moment feel like? Give us some insight.
I wasn't going to break down. I'm not going to accept that verdict.
There was no smoking gun in this case. The prosecution never even proved how Hadsell gave AJ the heroin that killed her. Most damning evidence against him is that police found AJ's body by following the GPS history from his work van to an abandoned home in Southampton County.
How did AJ's body get behind that house?
I don't know. I tell you this, I was never behind.
So are you saying you're set up?
I mean, bottom line is there's other things at play here that I can't speak on because I would not have put my dollar on the trash and something like that.
But Wesley can't weasel his way out of this one.
I am convicted.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, found it interesting.
I did. It was
Some of most lines. Anyway, right, appreciate it. And here, go on. I'll see you as always real soon in the next video. Until then, though, please, take care of yourself.
Alright, hey. I liked it. Like I said, I've never watched that chapter before. That was really good. He's hilarious. I like it. That's some fun stuff, y'all. Alright. I really did enjoy the story too. I mean, it's sad. Anytime anyone loses their life like that at a young age, unnecessarily, just because of someone else's bullshit. It's awful. But, hopefully stories like that get out there and people can learn from, other people's mistakes and history doesn't repeat itself on some things. Alright, well, Wednesday video. Alright, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, think about leaving a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate all the love I've been receiving here lately. It's magnificent. Welcome, all new subscribers. Hi. Alright. Now, if you're a fan of the scary, spooky, strange, or deranged, think about subscribing. That's what we do. And, as always, be good to one another. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Not too shabba-do. All right.